All right, so we have seen what game begin procedure will do. It will initialize or basically set the variables to its original values and reshape and bring the text in the right format on the button. All right, so when do we want this to happen? First of all, when we open the app, that means whenever the screen 1, the active screen, let's go back to the designer block and see. So see, this is the screen 1. So whenever we see the screen 1, whenever the screen 1 opens, all right, then what we should see the game begin actions to commence or start. So let's click on screen 1 and select this block which says when screen 1 initialize. Okay, so whenever the screen 1 initialize, that means whenever we open the app and we see the screen 1, then what should happen? Let's go to procedure. Let's call game begin function or procedure. So see what it reads now. It reads when screen 1 initialize, that means when screen 1 opens, do call game begin. So this game begin part will come into action. Okay, now let's see the designer part. Okay, so there is a reset button as well. So whenever we click the reset button, even then we want the same thing to happen. Okay, so let's click on button number 10 and choose the first block which reads when button 10 click. So when we click button number 10, even then we want to call this game begin function. All right, so we have successfully completed the part that begins the game. Okay, when we open the app or when we click the reset button. Now let's come to the end directly and let's see how we will decide whether a person wins or not, or how we will call if someone is a winner or not. Okay. Okay, so how do we do that? We do that by um, let's first of all start that procedure. Okay, so we have this procedure now. Okay, and let's call a winner. So how do we call if someone is a winner or not? So how do we see whether whether a person is a winner or not? We have to check if the three components or the three buttons, say button number 1, button number 5 and button number 9. So we compare and see if the three places have the same values, either x or 0 or o. Okay, so if the three values have x's, that means that player x wins, and if the three places have O's, that means player O wins. So it can be either the position of button 1, button 5 and button 9, or button 4, button 5 and button 6. You know the rest. Okay, so what we have to do now is go back to the block section and try to program this and bring the blocks to make more sense. So what we have to do, we have to say that if let's go back to designer block again, designer section. So if the value in button 1 is equal to value in button 5, and if value in button 1 is equal to value in button 9. Okay, so when all these three values are equal to one another, then that's a winner. Okay, also we need to make sure that those values are not empty, because initially, if you remember, all the button text are empty. Even then every value is same. Even then this statement has the same value, this vertical line has the same value, because all are empty. But that should not be equal to empty. So let's say that button 1, the value of button 1 is not equal to empty, and it is equal to button 5 and button 9. So that way this diagonal values will make some sense, and accordingly we will call a winner. Okay, so let's go to block section and try to program that. Now we say that if okay, if, and let's bring some logic. Okay. Okay, so let's now go to math and see if this is equal. Okay, let me duplicate this and add it here. Now what I need to see is the value of okay, one more thing, what we need to do is because we need see three inputs, we need to see the three locations of the button. Okay, so we will be requiring these three buttons also, which we will later decide what all we want to check. Is it so basically we need three values to check: button 1, button 5, or button 9, or button 7, button 8, button 9, or button 4, button 5, button 6. But that we will give later. Okay, so we have these three values, and now let's rename that. Let's call it button number 1, then let's call this button 2, and let's call this button 3. So these are not these are not positions, but these are three inputs that we will give later on to check if that makes a winner. Okay, so we have, okay, I have to update this also, button 3. Okay, now it's done. So now what we need to do, we have to get the value of button 2. Okay, and we have to get the value of button 1. Mouse over, click it and put it right here. Now see if button 1, if the value of button 1 is equal to value of button 2, and if value of button 1 is equal to value of button 3. So if 1 is equal to 2 and 1 equals to 3, that means 1, 2 and 3 all are equal. But there's also one condition. Let me go to setting and add one more option. So now if you see over here, we have one more option to add. Okay, so let's duplicate this complete thing and bring it over here. Just a second. Yeah. Okay, so we also need to add one more thing, that button 1, the value of button 1 should not be equal to, not this, let's delete this, put it into dustbin. Bring our text. It should not be equal to the empty text, because if you remember, the button initially had a value empty. See, the button text is empty initially, so we don't want the button value to be empty. It should either be an X or it should be an O. Alright, so now the condition is that B1 equals to B2 and B1 equals to B3. That means B1, B2, B3 are equal, and also P1 is not equal to empty. So that case, what happens is we have the winner. So let's remember this thing, that we have a global variable called winner. Okay, so we'll make use of that and go on to variable and set the global variable winner to जिसकी chance थी, to whoever player was currently playing. So let's also get this thing, not so global chance. So whosoever player had the chance is now the winner. All right. Okay, now we have set who the winner is. Also, what we want to do, we want to see a notification that says, okay, now this person is the winner. Okay, so let's go back, and we dropped a notifier on the designer block. So let's click on this notifier and say that, okay, we'll use this one. So what this will do, it will call notifier and have some message. That notification screen will have a title and have a button. So let's go back to text and let's have a simple text here, and let's duplicate it and also have it in the title. So the title of the notification will be, say, game over. The button will say okay. So whenever we click OK, the notification will go away. And what the message will be, it should say that player 1 or player X or player Y, whatever the player is, he wins. Okay, so what we say is go back to text again. We have to join different statements. So all right, and go to, so we, what we have to do is we have to write player X or player Y or what, or player chance wins. Okay, so first thing that we want to join is player. So let me write here player. Okay, player. Now I need to join one more thing, one more string. Okay, player. Now I want to write here either X or Y, whosoever the winner is. Okay, so what we will do, we will get the value of global winner, because whosoever the winner is now set as global winner. So instead of chance we will say global winner. So player global winner wins. Okay, now we will add one more text and say wins, WINS. That's it. So this is how we will call who the winner is. Okay, now what we want to do, we want to check. Now we want to check, make the checks like for 1 2 3. So all the rows and columns and diagonals we want to check now. Okay, so how we will do that, let me show you. Let me scroll down. I hope this one is clear to you all. Let's go down and make another procedure that decides which line or which horizontal line or which vertical line or which diagonal to check. Okay, so let's bring this and call this as check option. Okay, so now what we will do, we will make use of if or if control again. So if say button 1 text is not equal to empty, then we will make checks. So let's go back to the designer block again. Okay, so whenever say a person clicks button number 1, okay, so when a player clicks button number 1, then there are chances that there can be a line horizontal which includes button 1, button 2 and button 3, or there can be a line 1 4 and 7 which is vertical line, or it can be a diagonal 1 5 and 7 that completes when the player clicks that button. So if say player X clicks button number 1, so there might be chance that he completes a horizontal line 1 2 3, he completes a vertical line 1 4 7, or he completes a diagonal 1 5 and 9. Okay, so we have to make 3 checks whenever the button number 1 is not equal to empty. So we will try to program that. We go back to the block section and we say if. Okay, if now button 1 is clicked, what will happen when button 1 is clicked? Its text will change. Okay, its text will change. So we will say that if button 1's text is not equal to, so if, let me give this one, yeah. So if the text of button number 1, let me bring math and say is not equal to, so if the if the text of button number 1 is not equal to, let's bring this, is not equal to empty, is not equal to empty. So that means the player has clicked that button and it has changed to either a 0, either an O or an X. Okay, so if the if the text on button number 1 is not equal to empty, then we will have to make a check, and we will have to call a certain procedure which is call winner. Okay, so we will call if that person is a winner or not, and the values of the 3 buttons will be, first of all, let's go back to designer again. So we will have to make a check of button 1, button 2 and button 3. Okay, so let's go back to block again. So what we need to do is we want to have the value of text of button number 1, button number 2 and button number 3. So let's bring it here, let's duplicate it and bring it here, and let's duplicate it again and bring it here. So we want to check if button 1 and button 2 and button 3 are same to one another, are equal to one another, and they are and they are same. The value is the same for each of the 3 buttons. Okay, but when button number 1 is clicked, there are chances. So this is the horizontal line. We will also have to check it for vertical line and also for one diagonal. So see, when button 1 is clicked, let me scroll up. So when button 1 is clicked, we will have to check for button 1, 2, 3 for the horizontal line check. We'll have to check button 1, 4 and 7 for vertical line check, and we'll have to check for diagonal 1, 5 and 9. So let's go back to block again and rename these numbers. So we have checked for 1, 2, 3. Now we will check for 1, 4 and 7, right? The vertical line. And finally the diagonal 1, 5 and 9. All right, 1, 5 and 9. Cool. So now we will repeat the same procedure for button number 2. So we'll duplicate this entire thing and bring it down here, and we'll have to check if button 2 is pressed. So when button 2 is pressed and it is not equal to the empty text, we will have to check. We'll have to check. Let's go back to designer. So when button 2 is clicked, so either this horizontal line, which includes 1, 2 and 3 buttons, that can be the winner line, or the other option can be 1, 5 and 8, the vertical line. But we have already tested for this horizontal line, so we will not include that. We will only make check for the vertical line 1, 5 and 8. Okay, so let's go back to the blocks. Let's have only one check. Let's delete this and let's delete this as well. We'll only have the check for 2, 5 and 8. So button number 2, button number 5 and button number 8. Okay, so this was when we were having the check for button starting from that includes button number 2. Let's duplicate this and let's make a check that includes button number 3. So when button number 3 is clicked, let's go back to designer and see. So when button number 3 is clicked, there is one horizontal line that can make the winner, which is already included, so we will not include it again. There can be the vertical line 3, 6 and 9, which is new, which we have not checked, so we'll include that, and the diagonal line 3, 5 and 7. So this is also not included, this is also new, so we'll program for that as well. So we need 2 call winners function to be called, or procedure to be called. So the first one was 3, 6 and 9, and the other one was a diagonal, which was 3, 5 and 7. Alright, now button number 3 is done. Now let's go on to button number 4. And for button number 4, let's see. So button number 4 will have this vertical line, which is done, this horizontal line, which is new. So 4, 5 and 6. Alright, so let's go back to the block section, copy this thing. We need only one check for the winner, which is the horizontal line for button number 4. Let's delete this one, and it was 4, 5 and 6. So let's select the button number 4, button number 5 and button number 6. Alright, the button number 4 is done. Let's check for button number 5 now. Now for 5, we need a vertical line, we need a horizontal line for the checking part. But we have already completed the vertical line, which included 2, 5 and 8, and we have already included the horizontal line as well for button number 4. Same goes for button number 6, we have completed vertical line and the horizontal line. Let's go for button number 7. It has 3 possibilities: the vertical line, the diagonal line and the horizontal line. Vertical and diagonal has been completed, so we will add for horizontal lines 7, 8 and 9. Alright, so let's okay, so let's copy this, let's duplicate this, bring it down, and for button number 7 we will make a check for button number 7, the horizontal one, the button number 8 and finally the button number 9. Okay, so let me zoom it out a bit so that you see what we have done so far. We basically have, I don't know if that is clearly visible, but what we have done is we have checked all the possibilities, all the lines that can be formed, and yeah, that we have done. Okay, so now when do we check this? Okay, now we have to decide that when do we check this. So this actually happens when we click a certain button. Okay, this check will be performed whenever we click a certain button. Okay, so let's do that, and let's click on button number 1. So whenever the button number 1 is clicked, what we need to do, first of all, when we click that button, it should change the text of the button to the chance, either an X or an O. All right, so when button 1 is clicked, so what should happen is, okay, so before that, let's add one more procedure that uh, involves the main function that happens when the button is clicked, apart from the visual thing on backend what happens. So let's write the name as button clicked. So whenever the button is clicked, what we want, first of all, the number of turns should be increased by 1. So how we will do that, let's go back to the variable, or let's uh, okay, go back to the variable. So if you remember, when we are clicking something, that means one chance is over, so the variable that says number of chances, so let's set number of num turns, and again variable, we will set it to, let's go to math. Basically, what we want to do is increase the current value by 1. So this is the current value of num turns, and it should be increased by a value of 1. All right. Okay, so global num turns, basically num turns was the initial value, was the original value, and the num turns is now set to the original value, to the previous value plus 1. So when we click the button, the number of turns should be increased, right? So whenever player puts X, the number of turns are increased, and there are a total of 9 terms, after which the game will end. Okay, all right. So now let's do one thing. We have increased the value by 1. Further, what we want to do, we want to make a check. Okay, so we want to go to procedure, and we want to call check option. So if you see over here, what check option does is, it basically make all the line, it checks all the line if they are same or not. Okay, let's go back. Okay, so when we click the button, we increase the number of turns by 1, and we check if someone is the winner or not. And now the chance will be passed on to the other player. So if the current player is X, the new chance will be of O, and if the current player is O, the new chance will be of X. So let's have that logic as well. uh, so if this one, so what we will say, that if, let me copy this. So if we have to make a check, so logic, this one. Okay, so if the number of turns, not number of turns, if the chance is of, say, X, let's bring it over here and write X. So if the chance is of X, then we will duplicate this, delete the second part. Yes, I want to delete this. So we will set the global chance to, let me duplicate this, O. All right. So if the current chance is of X, the chance should be changed to O. Otherwise, it should be set to X. Okay, so the chance will either be of X or O. If the chance is of x, it should be changed to O, otherwise it should be changed to x. As simple as that. So we have now changed this chance, and also what we want to do, we want to set the label as well. So let me copy this, duplicate this one, and bring it to use so that we don't have to write it again. Okay, yeah. So what we have done, we have increased the number of turns by 1. We have checked if someone is the winner. We have changed the value of chance, the current chance, so it will either be an X or an O. And then we have put that on the label that it is now the player X's or player Y's, zero's chance. Okay. All right. Finally, what we'll do, we will if basic so here we are checking if someone is the winner or not. So if we have a winner at that moment, what we want to do, we have to reset the game. I repeat, when the button is clicked, we are checking that if someone is the winner. So if someone is the winner, the game should also end. Okay, and the new game should begin. So what we will do here, we will check that. So if, and how we will see if someone is a winner or not, because currently initially the global winner is no one. All right, so now we will make use of that and say, let's go to the variable. If let's take the logic first. All right, so if the winner is not equal to no, so if that winner, if the value winner is not equal to no, that means someone else is the winner. Is not equal to no, that means someone else is the winner, that means someone is the winner basically. So if someone is the winner, then the game should end and begin again. So even then, what we want to do, we want to call game begin function, so that everything should reset. All right, now let me bring this over here, because we need to do for every button and it will be lengthy. Okay, so now what we want to do when button is clicked, first of all, we want to change its text. All right, so when we click the button, what we want to do is let's click on button number 1 and set button 1 text to a certain value, and it will be, let's duplicate this, the chance, because it is either an X or an O. So if the current chance is of X, then the button should say X when we click on it. So we have what we have done is, we have set the button text to the global chance, which is either an X or an O. All right, now what we want to do, we also want to call this click button procedure. So when we click the button, it should call button clicked procedure. Okay, finally what should happen is, if the global winner is equal to no, and if the turns are 9, that means if we click a certain button and all the chances have passed, okay, and there is no winner, that way we want to say that, okay, it's a tie and no one wins. Okay, so if this is the last button that we are clicking, in that way what we want to do is, we want to say that no one is the winner. Okay, and it's a tie. So let's do that. Let's do that by adding a control and using this statement, if then. So if, let's bring the logic. Okay, so if, and in logic we also want this. Okay, let's duplicate this. All right, so let's now make some sense again. So if the global winner, let's duplicate this, the global winner is equal to no, that means when no one is the winner, when no one is the winner, and the number of turns, let's get the value of num turns, and if the value of number of turns is equal to 9, that means all the chances have passed, that means all the chances have passed and yet there is no winner. Then what we wish to do is we want to add a notification. So let's make use of this one, duplicate this, shift it on the right. Okay, it should say game over again, the button text will be okay, so when we click ok the notification will go. But instead what we want, let's remove this one and add one more, or just remove this one is okay. Let's delete this and let's delete this all, we don't need this. So what the message should say, that it is a tie, that's it, it's a tie. All right, so when 9 chances have passed and there is no winner, then a message will pop up saying that it is a tie, and when we click ok, it will go back and revert back to the original state of the game. Okay, so that was it. Additionally, what we wish to do is we wish to do the same thing. So this is for button number 1, we have to duplicate this and have the same thing for button number 2. Let's do that. Button number 2, again we have to repeat this thing, and basically what we want to do is repeat these things for all the buttons. Okay, so I'll pause the video here and quickly complete that thing. All right, so I have simply copied this event when the button is clicked for all the buttons, for all the 9 buttons, and I have changed nothing else but these two values. When button 9 is clicked, set button 9 text to the global chance, that is it. So let us quickly recap what all things we have done. Let me first zoom everything out. Okay, let me zoom everything out and see what all things we have programmed. So these are the things that we have done. Let me bring this one closer. Okay, this one over here, so that it's less of a mess, and let's bring it over here. Okay, let me zoom it back in. All right, so we started on the top, we see that we started with initializing the variables. Okay, we were using 3 variables: number of turns, chance, x and y, and who the winner is. Initially there was no winner, then we created certain functions, certain procedures, and yeah, that was it. And finally what the button was doing when we were clicking. So once this program is finally finished, we have arranged all the blocks and making some sense out of it. What we will do is go on to build, and let's do this thing. Let's create a QR code for that, for the app. Okay, so it will take a couple of minutes or maybe less than a minute to compile. Once the compilation is done, it will show you a QR code and a link to download the APK. You can download the APK on your phone and run the app and see how that functions. So that was pretty much it. I'll share the link of the app in the description of this video so that you can download it for yourself and see how the app functions, how the game works, and how it looks like. So here's the QR code that has been generated. Simply scan this thing, but this is valid for only 2 hours. So I hope the time you're watching this video, the QR code must have lost its value. So let me click on this link And here I have this APK. It's just 3.3 MB of file. Now I'll quickly transfer this on my phone and see how this game functions. Okay, so I found there was a little error when I tried the app. So every time there was a check, it say that it's game over and player no wins. So so the problem was because this call notifier was not inside the if statement, if and then statement. So whenever they all match, okay, so only then we have to call the notifier. So whenever a player wins, only then we have to do, not outside this. Okay, so let's get it inside the if and then part, and now let's build that again. Okay, so let me provide a QR for the APK. It will again process, generate a QR, hmm, and get us a link to download the app. Okay, so let's wait for that to finish. It will take less than a minute for the processing. And so once this game is downloaded and it's functioning well, I'll show you the gameplay of this game. And yeah, I guess that's it. So this is how you finish the project, and I really hope that you make these apps. Just upload it somewhere on a drive or something, and I would really love to see your apps, the games that you have developed. So what you can do is upload the game app that you develop, and drop the link in the comment section. I would really love to see your work. So I'll stop it here and share the gameplay next.